Have you ever felt that burning feeling inside your chest after you made a mistake? Maybe you said something wrong. Maybe you failed an exam. Maybe someone laughed at you in front of others. That feeling that tells you, I am not good enough. I am broken. I am worthless. That feeling has a name. It is called shame. Shame is not just sadness. Shame is not just guilt. Shame is a heavy chain that ties your heart and mind. It whispers in your ear every day. Don't try, don't speak, don't show yourself. You will only embarrass yourself again. But here is something interesting. Shame is not always the truth. Shame is often a liar. Shame tells you a story that is much darker than reality. And today, in this video, we are going to break those chains together. By the end of this lesson, you will learn how to stand up, look shame in the eye, and say, you don't control me anymore. Chapter 1. Understanding the difference between shame and guilt. The first step to freedom is understanding the enemy. Many people confuse shame and guilt, but they are not the same. At first, they may feel similar. Both bring discomfort. Both make you feel bad inside. But if you look carefully, you will see that they are completely different experiences, and how you respond to them will shape your life in very different ways. Think about this. Guilt says, I did something wrong. But shame says, I am something wrong. Do you see the difference? Guilt is connected to an action. It points to something you did. Shame, on the other hand, points to your identity. It attacks who you are. This difference may look small, but it is life-changing. When you feel guilt, it can be healthy. For example, if you lied to a friend, guilt reminds you that honesty is important. It gives you the motivation to say sorry, to fix the mistake, and to become better. Guilt can be like a teacher. It shows you the right path after you take the wrong step. But shame is very different. Shame doesn't say, you told a lie. Shame says, you are a liar. Shame doesn't say, you failed this exam. Shame says, you are a failure. Do you notice the trap? Shame doesn't leave you with any hope to change, because it tells you that you, as a person, are the problem. And when you start believing that you are the problem, you stop growing. You stop trying. You start hiding from life itself. Let's use a simple example. Imagine a child in the kitchen holding a glass of water. The child is excited, but suddenly the glass slips and falls to the ground. Water spills everywhere. If the child feels guilt, the thought is simple. I spilled the water, I should clean it. Guilt points to an action that can be corrected. The child learns to hold the glass more carefully next time. It becomes a moment of growth. Now imagine the same child feels shame. The thought becomes, I am clumsy, I am stupid, I always ruin everything. Do you see how dangerous this is? The problem is no longer about spilled water. The problem becomes the child himself. Shame changes one small accident into a heavy judgment about the whole identity of the child. Over time, the child may start believing that he is broken. He may become afraid to try new things, afraid to carry responsibility, or afraid to speak up. Shame plants fear deep inside the heart. When you carry this belief for years, it destroys your confidence, your courage, and your future. It makes you play small when you were meant to play big. It makes you hide your gifts when you were meant to shine. It makes you sit quietly in the back row of life when you were meant to stand on the stage. But here's the truth that shame does not want you to hear. You are not your mistakes. You are more than your failures. Your actions may sometimes be wrong, but your identity is not defined by them. You are a human being who learns, who grows, who falls, and who rises again. Think about the people you admire most in history or in your own life. Do you believe they never made mistakes? Of course they did, but they did not let shame write their story. They may have felt guilt for their actions, but they refused to believe that they were worthless as people. They separated the action from the identity. And that made all the difference. You see, guilt can guide you toward correction, but shame keeps you stuck in destruction. Guilt says, fix it. Shame says, forget it. You are hopeless. Which voice will you choose to listen to? Once you learn to separate guilt from shame, you begin cutting the rope that shame tied around your life. You begin to see your mistakes as lessons, not life sentences. You begin to treat yourself with the same compassion you would give to a friend. And slowly, step by step, you begin to reclaim your courage. So the next time you fail, pause and ask yourself, am I feeling guilt or am I feeling shame? If it is guilt, use it as a guide to make things right. If it is shame, remind yourself, I am not the mistake. I am the learner. I am growing. This understanding is the foundation. Without it, shame will always control you. With it, you start to rise. And that rise begins the journey to freedom. Chapter 2. The origin of shame. Where does shame come from? Why do we feel it so strongly, even when nobody is pointing at us? To understand how to break free, we first need to understand how it begins. Shame does not appear suddenly when we are adults. It often begins when we are very young, sometimes even before we can fully understand what is happening to us. Think about your childhood. Maybe your parents compared you to others. They might have said things like, look at your cousin. He gets better grades than you. Why can't you be more like him? In their mind, maybe they thought they were motivating you, but in your heart, those words planted a painful thought. I am not enough. I am less than others. Or maybe your teacher said something harsh in front of the class. Why can't you be like your brother or your sister? They are so smart, and you are lazy. To a child, words like this don't just sound like advice. They sound like judgment. And when children hear judgment again and again, they begin to carry it like a heavy backpack. Friends and classmates can also become sources of shame. Maybe they laughed at your clothes, your accent, your body shape, or even your dreams. Children don't realize how deep their words can cut, but those words leave marks. A small joke for them might become a lifelong scar for you. And with every joke, every insult, every comparison, shame grows stronger. Every painful word becomes a seed. Imagine someone holding a bag of seeds of doubt, seeds of unworthiness, seeds of rejection. Each time they criticize you unfairly, they drop one seed into the soil of your mind. At first it doesn't seem like much. One comment here, one laugh there. But slowly, these seeds grow. They turn into plants. And one day, without realizing it, you find yourself standing in the middle of a dark, dense forest. This forest is the forest of shame. By the time you become an adult, you walk inside this forest every day. You try to escape, but the trees block your path. Every tree is a memory. One tree is the voice of your teacher. Another is the laugh of your classmates. Another is the silence of your parents when you needed encouragement. And the forest feels endless. But here's the truth you must remember. That forest is not natural. It was planted. You were not born with shame. You were born free. You were born curious, playful, and fearless. Watch a baby take their first steps. They fall again and again, but they don't feel shame. They laugh, they get up, and they try again. That is your original nature. Shame was added later. It was placed on you by the words, actions, and expectations of others. And if it was planted, it can also be cut down. You are not doomed to live inside it forever. You have the power to clear the path, tree by tree, memory by memory. The moment you understand where shame came from, you stop blaming yourself for carrying it. You see that it was never your fault. You were not born broken. You were taught to feel broken. And what is learned can also be unlearned. This realization is like finding an axe in the middle of the forest. Now you can begin cutting down the trees. Slowly, with patience, the sunlight will return. So remember, the forest of shame is not who you are. It is only something that grew around you. And just as it was built, it can also be removed. You are not the forest. You are the free traveler walking through it, ready to step into the open field of confidence and light. Chapter 3. How shame controls your life. Shame is not just a feeling that visits your mind for a moment and then disappears. Shame is more dangerous than that. It is like a quiet shadow that follows you everywhere you go. It hides behind your thoughts, your choices, and even your dreams. You may think you are living freely, but shame is pulling invisible strings, shaping your behavior every single day. It does not just stay inside your mind. It reaches into your actions, your relationships, and even the way you see yourself. To understand how deep shame runs, let's take a closer look at the ways it controls your life. As we go through these, be honest with yourself. Ask, do I recognize myself here? Because once you see how shame operates, you will also begin to see how you can break free. Fear of speaking up. One of the first ways shame takes control is by stealing your voice. Think about a classroom. The teacher asks a question. You know the answer, or at least you think you do. Your heart begins to beat faster. You want to raise your hand. Shame whispers in your ear. What if you are wrong? What if everyone laughs at you? What if they think you are stupid? So you stay silent. Someone else answers, and you sit there quietly, wishing you had the courage to speak. The same thing happens at work. Your boss asks for ideas. You have a good one, but shame holds you back. Don't speak. Your idea isn't smart enough. Better stay quiet. Or maybe it happens in relationships. You want to tell someone how you feel, but shame says, if you share your feelings, they will reject you. Don't risk it. This is the power of shame. It locks your voice inside. And over time, when you keep swallowing your words, you start to believe you don't even have something worth saying. But the truth is, your ideas, your feelings, and your opinions matter. Shame only wins if you stay silent. Fear of trying. The second way shame controls you is by killing your courage to try new things. Have you ever wanted to start something? Maybe learning a new skill, applying for a job, or even speaking a new language like English. But then a voice inside told you, you will fail. Remember the last time you tried and failed? Don't embarrass yourself again. That voice is shame. It uses your past mistakes as evidence to stop your future. It tells you, why even try? You are going to fail anyway. And so, you stop before you even begin. Think about how many dreams die in this way. A person wants to sing but never steps onto the stage. Another person wants to write but never picks up the pen. Someone wants to open a business but never takes the first step. All of these lives remain smaller than they could be because shame convinces them that failure is their destiny. But failure is not the enemy. Failure is a teacher. Every successful person you admire has failed many times. The difference is, they did not let shame stop them from trying again. You don't fail when you fall. You fail when you refuse to stand back up. People-pleasing. Another way shame controls your life is by making you a prisoner of other people's approval. When shame lives inside you, You believe deep down that you are not good enough, and because of that, you start working very hard to make others like you. You smile when you don't want to. You say yes when you want to say no. You sacrifice your needs so that others won't be angry or disappointed with you. At first, this might look like kindness, but in reality, it is not kindness. It is fear. You are not serving others because you want to. You are serving them because you are afraid of rejection. Shame tells you, if you don't make them happy, they will leave you. If they see the real you, they will not accept you. And so you become a people pleaser. But here is the problem. When you live for other people's approval, you lose your own. You forget who you really are. You become a mirror that only reflects what others want to see, instead of a flame that burns with your true light. Real love, real respect, and real friendship do not come when you hide yourself to please others. They come when you show up as you truly are. People may not always like you, but the right ones will love you for your truth. Isolation. Shame also pushes people into isolation. When you feel not good enough, you start to believe that others will see your flaws too. You think, if I spend time with people, they will notice how weak I am, how awkward I am, how broken I am. So you hide. You avoid parties. You avoid speaking to new people. You avoid situations where the spotlight might land on you. At first, hiding feels safe. You think, if nobody sees me, nobody can judge me. But over time, isolation becomes a prison. Human beings are made for connection. We grow in relationships. We heal in relationships. But shame steals this from you. It makes you believe that being alone is safer than being seen. The sad truth is, the longer you hide, the deeper shame grows. It's like a wound that never gets air or sunlight. It only becomes worse. The way to heal is not through hiding, but through connection. The people who care about you don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be real. And when you show up as you are, you often discover that others have the same struggles too. Self-punishment. The last way shame controls your life is perhaps the most cruel. It turns you against yourself. Instead of needing an enemy outside, shame makes you your own enemy inside. You begin to talk to yourself with harsh, unforgiving words. I am useless. I am ugly. I am weak. I am a failure. You might not say these words out loud, but they echo inside your head every day. And words have power. If someone called you useless once, you might feel pain for a day. But if you call yourself useless every single morning, the pain becomes permanent. Some people even punish themselves in other ways. They sabotage their success. They ruin relationships because they don't believe they deserve love. They procrastinate on opportunities because they don't believe they are worthy of them. All of this comes from the root of shame. But listen carefully. You would never talk this way to your best friend. You would not look at someone you love and say, "You are worthless." Then why do you allow yourself to say it to you? If you can show compassion to others, you must also learn to show compassion to yourself. The strategy of shame. Do you recognize yourself in any of these? Maybe you stay silent when you want to speak. Maybe you avoid trying because you fear failure. Maybe you bend over backward to please others. Maybe you hide away. Maybe you attack yourself with cruel words. If so, then you have experienced the strategy of shame. Shame's strategy is simple. It keeps you small. It keeps you weak. It keeps you invisible. It convinces you that you are safer in the shadows, safer in silence, safer in hiding. But this safety is an illusion. The longer you obey shame, the more you lose the life you were meant to live. You were not born to live small. You were not born to shrink. You were born to shine. You were born to learn, to grow, to love, and to create. And if shame has the power to control you, then you also have the power to control shame. The first step is awareness. Now that you see how shame operates, you can begin to catch it in action. The next time you want to speak but feel fear, stop and ask yourself, is this shame trying to silence me? The next time you want to try but hesitate, ask, is shame predicting my failure? Each time you identify shame, you weaken its grip. Step by step, you reclaim your voice, your courage, your relationships, and your self-respect. And as you do, you discover something powerful. Shame was never the truth. It was only a shadow, and shadows disappear when you walk into the light. Chapter 4. The Turning Point Face. The Mirror Without Fear. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that running from themselves is no longer an option. You can try to hide behind achievements, behind smiles, or behind silence, but the truth always finds you. The turning point begins not when the world changes, but when you decide to face yourself honestly. And one of the most powerful ways to do this is through a simple yet life-changing practice. Standing in front of a mirror and looking directly into your own eyes. At first, this exercise might seem strange. Most people avoid mirrors, except for quick glances to fix their hair, adjust their clothes, or check how they look before stepping outside. But few people truly look into their own eyes. Why? Because the eyes are the windows to the soul, and when you stare into them, you can no longer hide from the truth of who you are. You see your pain, your past mistakes, your hidden fears, and your unspoken dreams. That is why this practice can feel so uncomfortable in the beginning. You may laugh nervously. You may feel embarrassed, even though no one is watching. Or you may even cry, because the mirror reflects back not just your face, but everything you've been carrying within. This is where the power of the mirror practice begins. Each day, as you stand before your reflection and speak words of truth, you start to rewrite the story that shame has been telling you. Saying out loud, I am not my mistakes, I am not my past, I am enough, may feel unbelievable at first. The voice of shame inside you might fight back, whispering, that's not true. You are broken. You are weak. But if you keep going, if you keep repeating these words with honesty and persistence, something begins to shift. The lies of shame grow weaker, and the truth grows stronger. Think of the mirror as a teacher. It does not lie. It reflects exactly what is in front of it. When you avoid looking into your own eyes, you are, in a way, avoiding yourself. But when you face your reflection with courage, you are telling your inner self, I see you. I accept you. I will no longer abandon you. That moment of facing yourself is the true turning point. Shame grows in silence and in darkness. It thrives when you refuse to look at yourself, when you push away your feelings, and when you pretend to be someone else. But shame cannot survive in the light of truth. Every time you look into the mirror and speak words of love, you bring light into your inner world. You are choosing honesty over avoidance. You are choosing healing over hiding. Over time, this daily practice becomes more than just words. You begin to notice changes in the way you think and feel. You start walking with a little more confidence. You stop apologizing for existing. You begin to treat yourself with the kindness you once gave only to others. The mirror becomes not a place of judgment, but a place of growth. Imagine what happens when instead of hearing your inner critic every morning, you hear your own voice reminding you that you are enough. Imagine how different your day would feel if you started it not with self-doubt, but with self-belief. That is the transformation the mirror brings. It does not happen overnight, but with consistency, it becomes one of the most powerful tools you have to defeat shame. So when you stand in front of the mirror, do not rush. Take a deep breath. Look into your own eyes with gentleness. Even if it feels uncomfortable, stay there. Speak your truth. I am not my mistakes. I am not my past. I am enough. With every repetition, you are reclaiming your power. With every word, you are breaking the chains of shame. And with every day that passes, you are learning to face yourself without fear. Because in the end, the mirror does not just show you who you are on the outside. It helps you rediscover the strength, the dignity, and the worth that has always been inside you. And once you can face yourself, you can face anything. Chapter 5. Techniques to break free from shame. Shame is like a heavy chain that holds people down. It makes you feel stuck in your past, trapped by your mistakes, and unworthy of love or success. But the truth is, shame does not have to control you. It does not have to define your future. Shame is only powerful when it stays hidden inside you. The moment you shine light on it, the moment you take action against it, shame begins to weaken. In this chapter, we will explore 5 techniques that can help you break free from shame. These techniques are not magic, but if you practice them daily, they can slowly transform the way you see yourself and the way you live your life. 1. Talk about it. Shame grows in silence. When you keep it inside, it feels bigger, darker, and heavier. You may think, if I tell someone my truth, they will judge me or reject me. But hiding only makes shame stronger. The first step to breaking free is to bring shame into the open. Talk about it. Share your story with someone you trust. This does not mean you have to tell the whole world. You don't need to post it online or announce it in public. Start small. Maybe you share with a close friend who understands you. Maybe you talk to a mentor who has walked a similar path. Or maybe, if speaking feels too difficult, you can write in a journal. Writing your thoughts on paper is another way of bringing them into the open. What was hidden inside your mind becomes visible, and once it is visible, it loses some of its power. Think of shame like a shadow. In the dark, the shadow looks huge and terrifying. But when you shine light on it, you realize it is not as big as it seemed. When you speak about your shame, you are shining light. You are telling yourself, I am not afraid of this anymore. I am ready to face it. Talking about shame does something even more powerful. It connects you with others. When you open up, you may discover that you are not alone. Many people carry shame silently, thinking they are the only ones who feel this way. But the truth is, everyone has felt shame at some point. By sharing your story, you invite others to share theirs. Together, you realize that shame is not a life sentence. It is a challenge that can be overcome. 2. Rewrite your story. Shame is not only about what happened in your life, it is about the story you tell yourself about what happened. For example, let's say you failed an exam. Shame tells you the story. I am stupid. I will never succeed. I am worthless. But there is another way to tell that same story. You could say, yes, I failed this exam, but this failure is a lesson. It shows me where I need to improve. I am strong because I am still standing and I will keep trying. Do you see the difference? The event is the same, but the story changes everything. One story keeps you stuck, drowning in shame. The other story gives you hope and strength. You have the power to rewrite your story. Every time shame whispers lies in your head, answer back with truth. If shame says, you are weak, you can say, I survived something difficult. That means I am strong. If shame says, you are not enough, you can say, I am growing every day. I don't need to be perfect to be worthy. This does not mean you deny your past or pretend bad things never happened. It means you take control of the meaning you give to those events. You stop letting shame write your story, and you start writing it yourself. Remember, the same fire that burns can also be used to cook food. The same storm that destroys can also water the land. Your past does not have to destroy you. It can build you if you choose to rewrite the story. 3. Separate the person from the action. One of the cruelest and most destructive lies that shame tells us is this: because you failed, you are a failure. This statement is not only untrue, it is dangerous. Failing at a task, making a mistake, or experiencing setbacks does not mean that you are inherently flawed or unworthy. Mistakes are part of being human. They are part of learning, growing, and living a full life. Yet, shame convinces us that one error, one moment of weakness, or one misstep defines our entire identity. The key to breaking free from this trap is to separate who you are from what you do. Your actions are not you. Your mistakes are not you. You are far bigger, deeper, and more complex than any single moment of failure. Think about a child learning to walk. The child falls down countless times. Does anyone call that child a failure? Of course not. Falling is simply part of the learning process. The child's worth is not measured by the number of times they stumble. It is measured by their courage to try again, by their determination to keep moving forward despite the falls. The same principle applies to you. Every failure, every mistake, is simply part of your process. It is evidence that you are trying, learning, and growing. It does not reflect your value as a person. The next time you make a mistake, try this small but powerful shift in thinking. Say to yourself, I failed at this task, but I am not a failure. Or if you stumble in some other way, remind yourself, I made a mistake, but I am not a mistake. These words may seem simple, but they protect your identity. They keep shame from attaching itself to the essence of who you are. They remind you that your worth is not conditional on perfection or success. Think of your life like a book. One bad chapter does not ruin the story. One mistake does not define the entire narrative of who you are. By separating yourself from your actions, you give yourself permission to try again. You give yourself permission to grow, to learn, and to keep moving forward without the weight of shame holding you down. This perspective transforms failure from a source of self-condemnation into a stepping stone toward your personal growth and freedom. When you see yourself clearly, as separate from your mistakes, you can finally take bold steps toward living a confident, shame-free life. 4. Practice self-compassion. Most people are far kinder to others than they are to themselves. Think about it. If your best friend failed at something, you would comfort them. You would speak words of encouragement, remind them of their worth, and help them see the lesson in the mistake. You would not call them stupid, ugly, weak, or worthless. You would not use their failure as proof that they are a failure. Yet, when it comes to yourself, many of us act in exactly the opposite way. We speak harsh words to ourselves, replay our mistakes in our minds, and allow shame to grow unchecked. This is how shame becomes so strong. It thrives in the soil of self-criticism. When you attack yourself, shame has a home. When you treat yourself with cruelty, it gains power over your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Self-compassion is the antidote to shame. It means treating yourself the way you would treat a friend or loved one. It means speaking to yourself with kindness, patience, and understanding. It means forgiving yourself when you fall short or make mistakes. A simple practice is to ask yourself, if my best friend did this, how would I respond? Then give yourself the same kindness you would offer them. It might feel strange at first because many of us are used to self-criticism, but over time, this practice rewires your mind. It teaches you that making mistakes does not make you unworthy. It teaches you that you can hold yourself accountable without tearing yourself apart. Self-compassion is not laziness, and it is not an excuse to avoid responsibility. It is not saying, "It's okay, I don't need to improve." Instead, it is saying, "I can do better, and I will, but I will do so with patience and love, not hatred." Imagine a teacher who yells at a student every time they make a mistake. The student becomes fearful, ashamed, and stuck. Now imagine a teacher who guides with patience, encouragement, and gentle correction. The student grows, improves, and thrives. You are both the teacher and the student in your own life. Choose to teach yourself with compassion. When you practice self-compassion consistently, shame begins to lose its grip. Shame depends on self-attack. When you stop attacking yourself, shame has nowhere to live. It becomes smaller, weaker, and eventually loses control over your thoughts and actions. Self-compassion allows you to see yourself clearly, not as broken, not as unworthy, but as a human being capable of growth, learning, and love. It is the foundation for freedom from shame, the first step toward confidence, and the key to living a life where your worth is never determined by your mistakes. 5. Turn shame into motivation. Shame is a heavy emotion, but it does not have to destroy you. In fact, it can be transformed into something powerful if you learn how to use it correctly. Many people allow shame to paralyze them, to lock them inside fear and silence. They believe that because they feel shame, it means they are not worthy, not capable, or not good enough to move forward. But this is not true. Shame does not have to be a prison. Instead, it can become a source of fuel, a fire that pushes you to rise higher. The question you must ask yourself is this: will I allow shame to bury me, or will I turn it into the very energy that lifts me up? For example, if you feel shame about your physical health, you might be tempted to hide, to give up, or to say, "I am too far gone." But what if you flipped that thought? What if you said, "Yes, I feel shame about my health, but I will use this feeling as motivation to take action." That shame can become the spark that gets you to exercise, to eat better, to drink more water, and to take care of the body that carries you through life. The same principle applies to any area of your life. If you feel shame about your lack of knowledge in a subject, do not let it silence you. Instead, let it inspire you to study harder, to ask questions, and to expand your mind. The secret is to remember this truth: you are not fixing yourself like a broken machine. You are not broken. You are building yourself, shaping yourself, like an artist creating a masterpiece. Shame may whisper, "You are not good enough." But instead of bowing to that voice, speak back boldly. "I may not be where I want to be yet, but I am on the way. I am moving forward." Every step, no matter how small, is proof that you are stronger than shame. Chapter 6. Real Power Living Without Shame. Imagine for a moment what your life would look like if shame no longer had power over you. Picture yourself walking into a classroom, a meeting, or even a family gathering, without the constant fear of being judged or rejected. You no longer carry the heavy thought of, "What if I say something stupid? What if they laugh at me?" Instead, you raise your hand with confidence, ready to share your opinion even if it's not perfect. You begin that business you've been dreaming about for years, without worrying about whether people will criticize you or say you're not capable. You take bold steps in relationships by being honest about what you feel and who you are, instead of hiding your true self behind walls of silence and fear. In this kind of life, you don't just survive, you thrive. You stop living under the shadow of shame and start stepping into the light of courage, authenticity, and freedom. When you walk into a room, something amazing shifts inside you. Instead of thinking, "Do they like me? Do they approve of me?" you begin to ask a far more powerful question: Do I like the person I am becoming? This question is life-changing because it shifts the focus from others to yourself. Approval from others is never guaranteed. People's opinions change constantly. They might praise you today and criticize you tomorrow. But the only thing that truly lasts is your own opinion of yourself. Living without shame means you are no longer a prisoner of other people's judgments. You measure your worth not by their reactions, but by your own growth, progress, and integrity. Now think about failure. In a life ruled by shame, failure feels like the end of the world. One mistake can make you hide, give up, or label yourself as worthless. But when you live free of shame, failure no longer has that power. Instead of collapsing when things go wrong, you stand tall and tell yourself, "This mistake will teach me. This failure will grow me, but it will never define me." That mindset transforms your entire experience of life. Failure becomes a stepping stone instead of a dead end. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to discover more about your own strength and resilience. You stop seeing yourself as someone broken and start seeing yourself as someone in progress. Always learning, always growing, always moving forward. Living without shame does not mean you will never feel discomfort or self-doubt. Those feelings may still appear, but the difference is that they no longer control your actions. Shame might whisper, "Don't try, don't speak, don't risk it." But courage will speak louder, reminding you that you are more than your mistakes, more than your flaws, and more than your fears. Real power comes when you choose to act in spite of shame's voice. Each time you speak up, take action, or show your authentic self, shame loses a little more of its grip on you. This kind of life is available to you. It is not reserved for the fearless or the perfect. It is for anyone willing to take small steps of courage every day. When you stop hiding, when you stop letting shame write your story, you discover something extraordinary. Freedom. Freedom to dream bigger. Freedom to connect more deeply with others. Freedom to live without the constant weight of not enough. That is real power. The power of living without shame. Chapter 7. Final message: you are not broken. If you remember only one thing from this entire journey, let it be this: you are not broken. You may feel like parts of your life are shattered. You may carry regrets, scars, or mistakes that weigh heavily on your heart. You may have been told by others that you are less, unworthy, or not enough. But none of that defines you. At your core, you are whole. At your core, you are enough. Nothing you have done and nothing that has been done to you has the power to take away your worth. Mistakes? Everyone makes them. Scars? Everyone has them. Judgments from others? That is a reflection of their own fears, not your value. The problem is not that you are broken. The problem is that shame has made you believe you are broken. It has whispered lies in your ear for so long that you begin to accept them as truth. But today, you are learning to stand in a different truth. You are not broken. You are becoming. Shame is sneaky. It doesn't disappear overnight. Even after everything you have learned, it will still try to return. It will knock on your door in the quiet of the night. It will creep into your thoughts when you make a mistake. It will whisper to you in moments of vulnerability. See, you failed again. See, you're not good enough. But now you have something you didn't have before. Awareness and power. You have the ability to look shame in the face and say, "I see you, but you are not my master anymore." This is freedom, not the absence of shame, but the refusal to be ruled by it. Freedom means you can hear the voice of shame but choose not to obey it. Freedom means you can recognize its presence but not surrender your worth to it. Freedom means you can make mistakes without allowing those mistakes to become your identity. You are free when you can say, I choose truth. I choose freedom. I choose me. And here's the truth. The real you, the you beneath the weight of shame, is strong, beautiful, and worthy. The real you is not defined by failure, but by the courage to rise again. The real you is not chained to the past, but is walking step by step into the future. And the real you has always been there, waiting for this moment. So, stand tall. Even if your knees shake, stand tall. Speak loudly. Even if your voice trembles, speak loudly. Live bravely. Even if fear walks beside you, live bravely. Why? Because shame cannot control someone who has already decided to rise. And you, my friend, are rising today. You are rising above the lies. You are rising above the pain. You are rising into the life you were meant to live. This is your moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Shame has already taken enough from you. Don't let it steal another day. Every morning, choose to practice what you have learned. Do the mirror exercise. Look into your own eyes and remind yourself that you are worthy. Rewrite your story. Stop replaying your failures and start rehearsing your victories. Share your truth. Don't hide who you are anymore. Watch how your life transforms when you live without the burden of shame. Because when shame no longer controls you, nothing can stop you. Not fear, not failure, not doubt. You will walk into opportunities with confidence. You will build relationships without hiding. You will pursue your dreams without apology. You will discover the freedom of being fully alive. And maybe the most important part, you will realize that you were never broken. You were only hidden beneath the weight of shame, but now that weight is lifting. The chains are falling. The lies are being silenced. And the real you, the courageous, confident, unstoppable you, is stepping forward. So remember this final message and carry it with you wherever you go. You are not broken. You are rising. And when you rise, nothing in this world can hold you down.